Hi, welcome to Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid Bot for short. I'm Member Box. So today I'm going to rank the EON James Bond films from 25 to number 1, worst to best. So with Amazon taking over the Bond, I thought it was a good time to sort of do a final ranking of these based on a recent viewing session I did. Once Amazon takes over this, which effectively they already have, they'll no longer be the Eon ones. They'll be official James Bond films. The whole sort of structure and culture of it will change. The Eon Bond films, certainly in the days under Albert Broccoli, were unique in the way the sort of system of production worked in the whole Bond team, the fact they're shot in the UK and so on. So it is and was the end of an era, and what happens next will be something different. I'm not going to rank, obviously, Never Say Never Again and Casino Royale. They're not proper canon. Obviously, that's the David Niven Casino Royale. To me, whenever I look at a rank, I always find their inclusion a bit annoying, if I'm honest. So, 25 to number 1. So my number 25 is Quantum of Solace. I've watched this film several times. I've tried liking it. But it actually gets worse with every viewing. I think the script was written up until 11:59 of the night of the writer's strike. And it shows you need a script, you need structure, and this just doesn't work. And the fact it's so short as well, I don't mind a shorter Bond film, but it shows really they didn't have the material. And it's just full of quite a lot of scenes that either don't make sense or just don't gel together. It's got a poor villain, poor henchman, the Bond girl's underwritten. Daniel Craig's probably his one saving grace, but he can't go away wet in Casino Royale due to the writing. So that's my number 25 choice. I'd probably give it a 3 out of 10 if it was marking out of 10. So my number, looking over here, number 24 choice, no surprise here, is Die Another Day. Now this has gone up in people's estimations because they're like, oh, it's a fun Bond. Things got very serious in the Craig era, but the thing with this film is it does start pretty good. The pre-credit sequence is okay. You've got a good title sequence. I like the way the narrative bleeds into the title sequence. And then it's not bad after that. But once it gets to Cuba, which isn't a bad sequence, there's that terrible CGI bit of Halle Berry diving off the cliff face. And then from there on, you know that the technical level of the film's going to go down. And when it goes to Iceland, the CGI is unforgivable. It's a pitiful thing when your water sequence is worse than the surfing sequence or as bad as The Winning Escape from LA, which was from 1996. Why on earth they signed off on this? But it just cheapens the whole thing, and it makes you see the holes in it more. Really, the bad villain. Halle Berry doesn't work. I don't like the bit where they have her come out of the sea and try to do the Ursula Andress thing again. Getting the same aggressive is Brosnan, who does his best. It's a shame he didn't get another one. But pardon me, but that's the way it goes. Give this 4 out of 10. So my number 23 choice is Spectre. This is another film I've tried liking more, but every time I view it, again, it just kind of goes down a notch. The whole Blofeld thing, I mean, this title of the film gave it away that Christoph Waltz would be Blofeld. Maybe it would have been better if he wasn't and then Blofeld was revealed, but this idea of him being, I don't agree with his brother plot, as it were. Bond's basically been under a guardianship and then he's the biological child. But it's just ridiculous. And then the idea of tying everything that's happened before, really trying to make it sort of a universe type thing, in an interconnected narrative. And it just kind of, it did the Craig era in a lot of ways. That, at the end of Skyfall, he's got this spring off point where he could just go on like a chilled adventure and have fun, but that wasn't the way it went. And the other thing that really undermines it is the love affair romance between Madeline and Bond. There's just not chemistry there. It doesn't prove in No Time to Die, but I just never believed it. So this is like a 5 out of 10 for me. Now, next choice, 22. Number 22 is The World Is Not Enough. This has always been a bit drab to me. Pre-credit sequence is a lot of fun, if a little long. Good title sequence, garbage song's okay. Nice musical score by David Arnold as well. And Brosnan's is good apart from a bit of dodgy acting later on when he's getting strangled. But again, they make the huge mistake here. Robert Carlyle, you've got a villain. Is he a henchman? In the end of it, I don't know, but he can't feel pain, so why not exploit that? You could have him and Brosnan having a fight and he gets his wrist broken, snapped, and he just carries on. They just discard that as a plot point. the actual bit with the caviar factory, Robbie Coltrane's character's caviar depot, as it were, that sequence actually looked better with the flying blades when I watched it this time. It was a bit of a slicker action sequence, but the skiing sequence is very poor. I went on as a site called Leslie Tiers. He does a lot of Bond tier rankings. He pointed out it all looks second unit, this film. The action bits, you can see that the second unit's just been left to its devices and there's no integration, and Michael Apted does a poor job of this. Plus the forward momentum of the film, it actually goes backwards. It has him going back to where he's come from. Various things, and of course, like Denise Richards is completely miscast. You know, if you're going to cast a character called Christmas Jones, a nuclear physicist, well, at least cast a more mature actress. There's no way an actress, person of her, how young she was, would achieve that kind of level of ranking, so to speak, in a professional job. So, and it just looks a bit creepy with Brosnan being older. So that's my choice there. My number 21 choice, which has actually moved up the rankings. This used to be the bottom one, but I think there's elements of it that are fun. Is A View to a Kill. Pre-credit sequence is let down by that terrible use of the Beach Boys, but the song's decent. It's got a good villain in Christopher Walken, and of course Grace Jones is good. I feel once it gets going, it's okay. It's good when they go to Zorin's big mansion. I really like that sequence, and I really like Patrick McNee. The horse chase bit's a bit dodgy, but on the whole, that sequence, that whole section is pretty good. When they go to San Francisco, this tails off. He goes to Tanya Roberts' character's house. Forgotten the name of the character. Then he goes to the City Hall. James Bond going to the City Hall, it's like a tart to heart, and then he goes back to the house. Doesn't really work. Roger's had plastic surgery, of course, his eyes don't look right. And then the bit with the airship, although kind of potentially exciting, the problem is an airship, it moves slowly and the action just feels a bit dodgy there. But the bits in the mine are pretty good. It's a Bond film for the sake of it to me. It's like, oh, it's been 2 years since the last Bond film, we need to make one. Whereas it would have just been better, not doing it at all. Let Roger go and wait to cast someone and so on. So that is my number 21 choice. So sort of into my next sort of block of films. These ones of Pixar far all had deep flaws. These next ones are flawed but more enjoyable. My number 20 choice is No Time to Die. Very controversial Bond film. When I was watching it again recently, what I found interesting was how, at the time I enjoyed the Cuba sequence, but it feels like it's part of another film. It's this, light-hearted Bond romp that Daniel Craig never got. And the girl, the actress, Ana de Armas, sorry, she is like, his Bond girl and they've got a spiky sort of chemistry. But that is discarded in the film. Obviously, you've got the pre-credit sequence, which is pretty good, the kind of horror movie element of it. Safin is quite creepy, and you got the action, bit long, but it's good. Don't like the song, but the credits are okay. And it goes on from there. The Lashana Lynch character, the whole 007 thing is really badly handled, but the sequence in Norway is pretty good. I think it's Norway or over the bridge. And the climax where he goes to the island, as the scene with Safin's really good, where he's got his daughter. There's a good bit of shooting up the stairs in one take. I think it's well directed, it's got a lot of visual pizzazz. But then it makes a mistake of killing him off. I've always thought, why not just have Madeline and Matilda at some point they just stopped her from the car and then a cuddly toy gets left or something like that, I don't know. But anyway, that was a Craig era. He wanted the character killed off. Barbara Broccoli acquiesced to his demands. And that's a closed timeline. What the Amazon lot decide to do with that, I don't know. I give that about a 6.5 out of 10. It's probably going to go down, I would imagine, over time. Next choice at number 19 is Tomorrow Never Dies. A good sophomore effort by Brosnan. Snaps along, great pre-credit sequence. Don't like the song, but the plot's decent enough. Michelle Yeoh's good. Don't like the Paris Carver character, but the couple of henchmen I think are quite good fun. I also like the bit where Brosnan goes to her kind of hideout and he's messing around with the gadgets. Bike chase is really good. And when I watched it last time, actually the climax is pretty solid as well. I always thought that was a bit weak, but it actually works pretty well. It's not great, this. It's got its issues. I think Jonathan Pryce is a bit cheesy, but at the end of the day, the second Bond isn't always as good as the first one sometimes when an actor does their second Bond, and this is pretty solid. It was good enough and still is to me. So that is my choice there. And at number 18, by a hair's breadth, is For Your Eyes Only. A lot of problems with this film, particularly the bookend of the pre-credit sequence and the bit with Margaret Thatcher, which are just too comical. Less about the Thatcher bit, the better. But Roger's very good in this, as it is the character Million Havelock. And the scenes in Greece are really good in the underwater bits. I found the bit in Italy pretty drab. The snow scenes are a little, like we've seen them before. And Eric's a terrible henchman. But what this really suffers from, aside from a bad musical score, which doesn't work, is the villain of Christatos just doesn't work again. It would have been better if there was a bigger villain revealed towards the end. The rock climbing bit's good, but the climax is a little drab. But props to it, trying to make a more serious film when Roger kicks the car off the cliff and kills the Locke character. I love that sequence. So, I would rather watch this than the other two ones I picked. So, into my kind of next level of Bonds, and at number 17 is Dr. No. The first Bond, obviously it's got its quirks, this, because they haven't established a formula. But Ursula Andress looks glamorous, got a great villain, some really cool set design done well on a low budget. The title sequence is cool, with the little dots, which is well used in No Time to Die credits as well. Professor Dent's good. Sylvia Trench and of course Sean, that meeting's fantastic. And Sean's very good. And gets better. I think the main problem with this is the musical score lets it down. It's got a kind of cheap score by Monty Norman, and it does look a little 1950s. Like when he goes in M's office, it feels like it could be like 1958 film or something like that. But anyway, 7 out of 10 I'd give that. It's obviously a very important film, not only in Bond but in film history. Number 16 choice is You Only Live Twice. Obviously this has fantastic locations, amazing set design on the Holodow volcano. Iconic image for the villain of Blofeld performance, Donald Pleasance. I think the thing that lets this down is really two things. I think Sean isn't as engaged, and of course he'll always be awesome because he's Sean, but this is his weakest performance for me as James Bond. He's kind of wants to be out of there, doesn't he? The other main mistake to make is killing off the Aki character. She'd be a really good Bond woman, and she is. They kill her off and they replace her with Kissy Suzuki, who's lovely but doesn't really have a lot to do, and he's introduced too late in the thing. Less said about him disguising himself as a Japanese fisherman, the bear. Oh wait, he's 6'2". But anyway, some great action and spectacle in this. He's kind of behind my ranking. But my next choice uses the same plot at number 15, and it's Moonraker. So this film's daft as a brush, but I saw it when I was a kid. And I've always had a soft spot for it. Amazing production design on this. Great villain Hugo Drax. Good to have Jaws back, but they kind of undermine it with silliness. I think Roger's great in this. He's really good. The bit where he's pheasant shooting, absolutely brilliant. I think the main thing that undermines us, apart from the fact he goes into space, is it just has big bumps. This is the best example of what I could call the broccoli bump when they go from one sequence to another. It just seems like they picked spectacular locations, which they have. They're amazing, and they just go from one thing to the other. But there is some cool bits, like when the scientists get poisoned and he uses the Close Encounters thing. But it has that bit where it has the Magnificent Seven theme. Yeah. There's dodgy moments, but I give it 7 out of 10. It's got massive spectacle. If you saw it at the time, it was a good night out. Okay, into my next little level of films. It'd be difficult for me to pick between these. They're all very close. So this is what they are today. So at number 14, I'm going to pick Octopussy. This is a film that's improved with age. Great pre-credit sequence. I actually like the title song. I like the way that theme's used in the film. Excellent photography. One of Barry's best later scores. Roger's really good. His age is still okay, although the stunt dummy is pretty dodgy. Great villains. Louis Jourdan and his henchmen are fantastic. Stephen Burkoff hams it up, but is a lot of fun. Love the bit where he goes to the auction for the Fabergé egg, one of Roger's best scenes. The twins are good, knife-wielding twins. And of course, people knock the clown sequence, but it mirrors the tension and fear of the sequence with I think it's 009. When that sequence, and Roger has to dress up as a clown to disguise himself to defuse a bomb, which is a really tense sequence. Great bit when he kills the other twin and goes, and that's for 009. Fantastic. So solid, a high 7 out of 10 on this. My number 13 choice is Thunderball. This is pipping it because it's the classic Sean Bond, and this film's really good most of the way through. Sean's fantastic. Fiona Volpe's brilliant. Domino's absolutely gorgeous. Photography's great. Musical score's fantastic. And Largo's a pretty good villain. Love the Spectre bit where the guy gets blatted in the chair. The principal problem with this is it's a little bloated, it's a bit long, but the underwater climax just slows it down. They hand later underwater sequences in Bond films like For Your Eyes Only are really good, but Terence Young just hadn't worked out how to snap the tension up with this. It's confusing as well to me, and of course there's a continuity error. But it is, maybe Sean's best performance as Bond. This certainly his equal best. So that's my choice 13. Number 12. Now, a lot of people don't like this. A lot of people pick this bottom and his diamonds are forever. I think the key thing with this is, if you saw it when you were a child at the time, it was a lot of fun. Mr. Wint, Mr. Kidd are great. Yes, Blofeld should never be English, but I think Charles Gray's really funny. I like Sean's performance in this. After being a bit drab in You Only Live Twice, he comes back, he's having a lot of fun. Of course, he's put on weight, but, it kind of works for me. He's kind of got like a Bond lounge act. Tiffany Case is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of humour in this. Like I said, Mr. Wint, Mr. Kidd. I like Barry's score, great song, quite a good cool pre-credit sequence, title sequence is good. There's a lot of really good elements of this. I think the thing that knocks it down is the climax on the oil rig. It's a pretty pitiful villain's lair, and the action's kind of what's going on. It's kind of like they can't be bothered. But the post, at the end where on the boat and he has the final face-off with Wint and Kidd is really good. So I've always given this a high 7, but I can see why people would not like it. My number 11 choice is License to Kill, Timothy Dalton's second film. This is one that gets better as I watch it. At the time, I was a bit nonplussed, but every time I watched it, I grew to like it more. Pre-credit sequence is kind of a 6 out of 10. It's not the best one, but I like the way it sets up the narrative, and I love them parachuting into the wedding. You got the photograph, and it's the best later Barry title sequence from Octopussy onwards. He starts using dodgy sort of photography and 80s stuff, which I don't like, but this is pretty cool. Love the License to Kill theme song, and then obviously the plot kicks off. This also contains one of the very best M scenes ever, Robert Brown. Obviously no Bernard Lee, but We're Not a Country Club 007, brilliant scene. Villains are fantastic in this. Robert Darby, Benicio del Toro and Anthony Zerbe all do excellent work. Kerry Lowell's pretty good, particularly when she sort of cuts her hair and becomes like the secretary type thing. Talisa Soto's acting's not great, but the truck climax is really good, and when he sets Sanchez on fire, it's a great, kiss off. It was just ahead of its time, really. I mean, Ray Craig goes rogue every second in Bond, doesn't he? But at the time, it was too lethal weapon for people. Of course, having Michael Kamen do the score. But I do think, despite some flaws, this is a good action thriller. And my number 10 choice is in The Living Daylights. And the reason this just pips License to Kill, as I just feel the Cold War element of this and the more Bondishness of this just makes it a little better. Brilliant pre-credit sequence, great introduction to Dalton, good song. Love the shoot, sniper bit in Bratislava, really good. And of course it climaxes with that fantastic fight with Necros, who I think's the best henchman they'd had since, Knick-Knack, Jaws, sorry. Probably, no, the guy from Octopussy, sorry. But a good henchman. This is let down by villains, really. Koskov's just too nice, and Whitaker's kind of hardly in it. It kind of really needed a guy behind a guy, really. A bit like For Your Eyes Only. For Your Eyes Only is probably the film it mirrors the most in terms of trying to do a realistic spy thriller. I feel the Aston Martin bit's a bit trying to appease the fans. Oh, we've got to have the Aston Martin in. And it didn't really suit Dalton, but I just think this works just fractionally better than License to Kill. Akara's good as well. Okay, and finally my number 9 choice is The Man with the Golden Gun. Again, this gets slagged something rotten, but I saw it at the cinema when I was a kid. I can see its flaws, but I've always loved it. Scaramanga's amazing, Knick-Knack's amazing. Yes, there's some issues with Roger's performance, tonally, but he gets some brilliant scenes with this particular dinner scene with Scaramanga. Maud Adams is beautiful, as is Britt Eklund. I know her character's daft, but I do quite like her. Cool musical score, incredible locations, really good car chase, and yeah, I like J.W. Pepper. So yeah, this film gets a bad rap, but if you were there at the time and saw it like I did, I think it was on a double bill with Live and Let Die. This is a lot of fun. Okay, now I'm in to the last 8. So the next 4, these would almost get right up there, but not quite. My number 8 choice is Live and Let Die. I'll give this an 8 out of 10. This is the first one where I'd give that mark. The other ones have just done a kind of high 7s. This course, Roger's first Bond. I think there's a couple of performance issues here with it, but he does a really good job. Yaphet Kotto is a great villain, as is Teehee, as is Baron Samedi. Really good. I like Whisper. I like the cool taxi driver guy. Hey, Jim! Amazing. And, of course, Jane Seymour's absolutely gorgeous in it. Just quite a mad plot, having the voodoo and the surrealness, which are kind of carried on in The Man with the Golden Gun. It would be interesting to bring that back, a kind of surreal quality within Bond, psychedelic almost. Great action. The speedboat chase is incredible. The climax is good fun. The crocodile bit as well. I think this is the one where the stunts went up a notch. It had stunts, but when they put the car on 2 wheels and Diamonds Are Forever, that was like a big time stunt really. And then they upped the game, and then you had the car flipping in Man with the Golden Gun and so on. And this was where it really upped the action. So that's my number 8 choice. Number 7, I'm going for GoldenEye. Now, I thought this would be higher, and I hadn't seen it for a long time. I love GoldenEye, but I found when I watched it recently, I kind of got all I could out of it in a way. Brosnan's really good. Xenia Onatopp and Natalia are fantastic. Sean Bean's a good villain. Oromov's really good. And of course the action's fantastic on this. There's still elements in it where it's like, oh, why'd you do that? And bits where you can see they've not had the budget they should have done. Where they're supposed to be in Russia, but you can tell they're like, in Grimsby or something, on the railroad. But, Martin Campbell does a great job of the action. He's got a really good climax. Really what does let us down is those elements, but the musical score, it doesn't matter that John Barry didn't do it, but they just needed to get someone who knew how to do a Bondish sound. And at times it lacks Bondian atmosphere because of Eric Serra's score, which I like more than they used to. But, still a very good Bond film. I'll give that an 8 out of 10. Number 6 choice, just pipping it, is Skyfall. This could change. Again, this is a film that is controversial. People criticise it. Other people love it. I've always thought it's a cracking film. It's kind of prestige Bond. It looks amazing. And I like the climax of the house, the Home Alone bit. I think that's really good. The musical score's great by Thomas Newman as well. Really atmospheric. The bit in China's amazing. The lighting, the bit on the lift, sort of recalling Diamonds Are Forever a bit. Pre-credit sequence is cool. Goodell song's good. I like the way the credits kind of tell us what's going to happen. Craig's excellent. I think if I've got a criticism of it now, Sam Mendes putting like little nods to things like having the Aston Martin, and I kind of wish he wouldn't do that now. But the other problem with this is that Craig, all of a sudden he's washed up and he's past it, And it's like, hold on, this guy was an absolute blunt instrument kicking ass in Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale. I do think that's an error. But anyway, that's what I think of Skyfall. Next choice at number 5 is From Russia with Love. Again, this is a really important Bond film in history of Bond. It's the first kind of serious Cold War plotted one. Robert Shaw's amazing. Rosa Klebb, Loretta Lynn's amazing. I like Kronstein's great. Blofeld's hidden. Numerous good sequences. Got the best Bond alley in Kermin Bay. And Tatiana's a really beautiful Bond girl. Cool John Barry score. It's nearly there for me. And whenever Bond wants to get serious, this is the template. This is a template Bond. It's the second template along with Goldfinger that they kind of always work from. Of course, this is what they use for the audition scene for any new actor coming into Bond. But I think the climax is good, but it kind of lets it down. It's just a little bit Hitchcocky. It's a bit sort of, being chased by the copter. But it's nearly there. It's a really great film, and it's my number 5 choice. So the next 4, I've decided these are the top 4. I'm not going to rank them 1 to 4, but there's this thing that goes around, what would you put on your Mount Rushmore of James Bond, and these are the 4. And I'm just going to review them in the order they came out, mark them out of 10. I find it hard to pick what would be the top one out of these. That's what I've decided. So number 4, or one of my 4 choices will be Goldfinger. This is the template Bond. It's the one where the formula got totally nailed. It's got iconic imagery, of course, with Shirley Eaton. It's got an incredible John Barry score, the greatest Bond song ever. Sean Connery at his peak, giving his best performance, equal best performance, and maybe the definitive Bond performance, the definitive villain, the definitive henchman, Goldfinger, Odd Job. Totally solid Bond woman and a woman as well, in Pussy Galore, Hannah Blackman. If I had to pick a little criticism of it now, is the bits where it's like back projection in the studio, and this kind of the weird thing, why does Goldfinger reveal his plot and then poison all those guys? That doesn't make sense. But it's full of like the way it balances kind of fun and frolic and then horror. Like he's getting off with Shirley Eaton, he's having a great time. The next thing, she's dead, covered in gold, and of course her sister. It's all fun in the Aston Martin, they're laughing, and then she gets her neck broken by Odd Job's hat. So, it's amazing. It's always, for a long time, it's my favourite Bond, and maybe it is, but I have seen it a lot of times this year. It's easy, a 9 out of 10. So the next film the next great film that came out after this, for me, is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Then, this could be number 1. There's numerous stuff spoken about this. The flaw in it is Lazenby. Is also the positive. By having Lazenby, it enables you to tell this story. I don't think you could do it with Connery. It wouldn't work. But Lazenby's brilliant in the fight scenes. Where he goes wrong is in the extended dialogue scenes where he has to act more. Why they didn't hire an acting coach on set, I think that's on the director, really. I think he thought he could get a performance out of Lazenby, and he probably needed an acting coach to help there. Incredible music score, not only the greatest Bond score and the greatest music scores ever. Love the pre-credit sequence, love the breaking the fourth wall. I know some people don't like it. Brilliant title sequence, the theme song amazing. Louis Armstrong, amazing. Down a rig, incredible. The second best Bond woman ever, Mrs. James Bond. He drives the Aston Martin DBS, love it. Telly Savalas is probably the best Blofeld. Irma Blunt's great. The girls are great in The Piss Glory. The Piss Glory works well. The skiing sequences, aside for dodgy back projections, some of the greatest action sequences ever. The thing is with me, I've always liked this. I remember it was coming on TV, my mum or dad was like, oh, that's the one with the other guy. I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh, they had another actor playing it. I'm like, eh? I must have been 8 or something. But when I watched it, once I got over that, the action, it was just pure Bond. So I've always liked this film. I've never had a big problem with it. So the next great Bond, and again, pulling in a 9 out of 10, is The Spy Who Loved Me, Roger Moore's greatest Bond film. The Bond, kind of after the misfire of Golden Gun for some people, they put it back, uses You Only Live Twice plot, massive scale on this film, underwater car, one of the best Bond songs ever, the greatest pre-credit sequence ever, possibly the greatest title sequence by Manish Binder, Roger's greatest performance, Anya, great Bond woman, and bringing a bit of feminism in, she gets in on the action, although she has to be rescued at the end, but really like all that, and showing the thawing of the Cold War before Glasnost happens, which is really cool. The set, the inside set of like the Liparus is amazing. You've got the cool action of the helicopter chase. I mean, you got the climax. I think the only things that let this down, Kurt Jurgens could be a better villain. I think he's a kind of 6 out of 10. As people said, he just tends to sit there. He's suitably villainous, he just kind of lacks something, but he's made up for by Jaws, who, of course, after Odd Job, is the second greatest henchman ever. Like Marvin Hamlish's score as well, and one of the Bond scores, not by John Barry, that works really well. The only other thing is some of the model work looks a bit dodgy now. But if you wanted to show someone what a James Bond film's like and go where to go, I think this is a really good choice. It's kind of like perfected the formula, and it's got all the elements that work. And then, of course, the final choice of the four would be Daniel Craig's debut, Casino Royale. My main criticism of this, I still think the third act in Venice is a little convoluted, but Craig was amazing what he did. And it's kind of sad how things went. There seems to be backlash against him. You know, he was incredible in this film, what he did. The pre-credit sequence is great, and then the kind of proper action sequence with the free running, amazing. The song works really well. David Arnold's score, Martin Cameron's direction. You've got a great credit title sequence, and of course Vesper Lynd pipping Diana Rigg to be the greatest Bond woman ever. The Hitchcockian bit, the meet cute on the train's brilliant. The bit at Miami Airport. You know, it's just littered with great moments. The whole gambling sequence is superb. Mathis is a great character. Jeffrey Wright's great. Like I say, it's just a bit too long, and it's just that final act isn't quite as sharp for me. But any four of these films could be number one at any time. So I've kind of cheated there. And those would be my Mount Rushmore Bonds, as people say. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Hopefully the Amazon era will bring us something good. They've hired one of the greatest directors in the world, aside from Christopher Nolan. So it should be interesting. Who will be James Bond? I don't know, but I know that I will be going the first day of the first showing I possibly can. So remember to share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers, thank you.